If you guys saw the last video here on my channel where I put 35-inch tires on my truck, I did mention that the next thing I'm gonna be doing is trimming up these fenders. It is grabbing onto the fender, and look, it's already starting to pull this one off. I've only been driving on it for like a week or two, and it's making a nice loud noise inside because the treads of these 35s are rubbing up on the fender here. Using a jigsaw, and we have a little bit of a die grinder tool here to clean up some of those cuts. We're gonna be taking a saw here to the fenders, the wheel wells, and trimming this up to make more clearance for these 35s. If you're interested in checking that out or seeing the process and how I'm gonna do the trimming, you're gonna wanna stay tuned and check out today's video. What's going on, guys? Welcome back for another video. If you're new here, my name is Chris. This right behind me is the Fortune Taco. And if you've never seen my videos before, I like to do mods and installs on my truck, off-road adventures, product reviews, things that are all kind of related to off-roading, camping, anything like that. If that is something you're interested in, please consider subscribing to the channel. But in today's video, like I already mentioned in the intro, we are going to be trimming up to make some more room for these 35-inch tires so I can stop rubbing, especially when it comes to off-roading. We actually have a trip tomorrow. I'm just going to walk you through the process of what we're doing here today, how we're doing the trimming. We already kind of started off just doing some of the marking and masking here, putting some tape on these fenders. I'll show you why here in just a minute. We have a tool that we're going to be using to mark our line of where we're going to cut. And by putting the masking tape on here, it just makes it easier so we don't have to draw or cut or make any lines on the fenders themselves. We're just gonna draw right on this masking tape and then use that as our reference point. Today's video is gonna be sponsored by ATH Fabrication. There are some brackets here that are gonna be getting used later on in the install today. I will get more in detail of that when we come to that step, but just wanted to hit on that real quick. Thank you, ATH Fab, for sending out these brackets to make today's video possible. All right, so the first thing you're gonna wanna do is get this all taped up. Some people will take these off, do the cutting off the vehicle. I'm definitely gonna take it off when it comes time to cutting, but for the measurement part, I want the fenders on the truck, put the tape up. I'm gonna use this nifty little tool that was shown to me from John at Scorch Fabrication. I'll leave a link down below. You can buy this on Amazon, 15, 20 bucks, something like that. But it has these two rollers here on the bottom, and then you place a marker, a pen, whatever you wanna use for marking in this portion. And you put it here along the fender, and by rolling it along this edge, you're gonna get a same even line that's the same shape, I guess, as the lower part of this fender here. But you can adjust the height on this depending on how much you wanna cut. You can cut all the way up into here if you want, but you need to set that distance. And then once it's set, like I said, you'll take the cap off the marker, go around here and mark out our line. Once we have that line put here on the fender trim, the plastic piece, we could then pull this off. We're then gonna have to repeat the process with the tape. We're gonna tape up the actual metal fender itself. We're gonna mark that, and then we have those two different pieces to cut. Obviously, you're gonna do it times 4 fenders, or wheel wells, whatever you wanna call them. But we're gonna have to cut each plastic fender and each metal fender. All right, as you can see here, this prominent black line on our tape is gonna be my cut line I'm gonna use to trim the actual plastic fender here. After we do our cut, these two lines will be nice and parallel with each other, and it'll give it a nice clean look. So we thought we can get away with drawing on the fenders and not interfering with the tires, but it looks like it's gonna run into both an issue here on the back, both the front and rear of the rear tire, and up on the fronts, a little bit of an issue bumping into the tire here. I tried to turn it and it still won't get enough clearance, so we're gonna have to take all 4 tires off the truck. Now with it fully marked, we can pull this plastic fender off, get it taken off the truck. We can then do our second cut into the fender. After that cut's done, we can pop the fender back on and we're good to get the tire back on, and that job's complete for at least this one tire. My truck is a completely different color underneath the fender trim. It's like a quicksand Tacoma. And now we have the plastic fender pulled off. Went ahead and cleaned off those lovely brown fenders I had here. Now we need to mark the second line, which will be on the actual metal fender that we're gonna trim. Using the same exact tool, same exact process. Just gonna roll it along the bottom edge to give us our mark. I wanna have it nice and clean. So I'm gonna get this plastic liner pulled back away from the fender so we can mark a nice straight line. So on the backside, you're gonna see this metal support bracket going from the bed of the truck to the fender. There's also another one here in the front. I'm not quite sure why this one's here because the fender's attached to the truck. It doesn't have that much of a distance. This back one here makes sense because the fender's not attached to anything down here other than this bracket, just to keep it in place. But just one thing to note, there's a support bracket in the front, support bracket in the rear wheel well. Both of those brackets will get completely taken out and removed. So as I started to bring my tool around the bottom edge here, as I got down to the backside, my line was going right through these clips, which is a bad thing because all of these clips are the only thing we're relying on to hold our plastic fender trim on. So I did have to freehand the line here to keep it away from these clips to give us enough fender room here to keep these clips so we can still attach that fender trim.
I am using my Ryobi jigsaw, and it's paired with a Diablo metal blade. I will have the link for both of those down below if you're curious or interested to pick them up. One, to get through this metal, it's very thin sheet metal. It cut through it like butter. It went so smooth and it was very easy. And then obviously going through the plastic fender flare with that same metal bit was a walk in the park. After I got the cutting done on the metal fender here, I ended up using my die grinder, which is also a Ryobi die grinder. It's paired with a sanding disc that I just picked up at Harbor Freight. And that was just so I can clean up that edge that I cut. So there was no little metal burrs or anything like that, just to clean up, make it smooth. And then I didn't have any with me here today on this project, but I'm gonna be buying some edge trim. And along that open exposed edge of that metal fender, I'm gonna put some edge trim on there just to clean up and finalize this job.
After we did some of the measuring on here and realized that the metal portion was definitely different measurements as far as the bottom edge to the top edge, and we were running into the line was gonna be through these clips, so I had to adjust it freehand. That part ended up turning out good. But now as we come to these, if we follow that same exact line that we drew on here with that measurement tool, and we flip it to the backside, that line would go right through these clips, which means then we cannot attach this. What we ended up doing was putting this fender trim back on the truck, and then from the backside, using a Sharpie, we drew a line where this fender line ends up on the backside of here. And then either using a jigsaw or a cutoff tool, I'm gonna use something. I'm gonna cut the line just a little short of this. I wanna make this plastic fender longer than this portion. So instead of making it come right to the edge, I wanna have it come down maybe like a ½ inch or so longer than the metal fender. So it just looks nice and clean, and this is all trimmed up. This is the part where that ATH fabrication bracket comes into play. We are gonna be mounting it up to these two factory threaded holes using that same factory hardware. This is gonna be where that bracket was at that was connecting the bottom portion of this fender. And then this little folded 90 piece is gonna come up to the fender in a much higher position. They do supply hardware that goes through here. The only thing you have to do is using a drill, you have to drill a hole through your fender. The hole that gets drilled through the fender is luckily gonna be behind this, so you won't be able to see it, but you do have to drill it here into the metal fender, and that's where you're gonna attach that bracket to here on the backside. And then once we pop this plastic fender back on, you will not be able to see that. But it's gonna keep this fender from flopping around like it does right here. A 9/32 bit is what I used to get through here, and the clearance was just perfect. Bolted on there, and like I said, obviously you can see there's a bolt here, but once we put that plastic fender trim over, that bolt's gonna be completely hidden. And now with this on here, the fender's not really going anywhere. I was really wanting this bottom line to just be perfect and match that contour of the very top line. There's a little bit of bump and wave to it. It's really, really difficult to get that line perfect and matching the top. So this is as good as it's gonna get for now. We're gonna go ahead and knock out all the other ones. I'm gonna catch back up with you guys once we have all the rest of the fenders done. We got all of the fenders trimmed, and I definitely have to say that project went on a little bit longer than I expected, as you can tell from the darkness outside. We started this thing probably 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, It is now 8 o'clock at night. Sun's completely gone. We were thinking it was gonna take like 2 to 3 hours over estimation, 4 to 5, something like that, but ended up taking quite a bit longer than we expected. I tried my best to stay pretty even with that top line, making it look nice and clean. Yes, you can tell here, there's now a difference in my bumper. I'm gonna try to work with DRT and see if they wanna do some custom work on that to bring that a little forward and make it match this line now. Definitely thought it was gonna be kind of quick and easy, not too bad. Having my brother here as a second set of hands helping out, just thought it was gonna go pretty quick. Well, we were completely wrong on that. Now there's a lot more room for these 35s here up in the fenders. Tomorrow we're gonna be going out and hitting a trail by the name of Log Corral, going out with a couple buddies, and hopefully see that we don't have any rubbing issues. There's probably gonna be rubbing issues. I mean, they're 35s. But we did some trimming, got it all cleaned up, so hopefully the issues won't be that bad. I wanna give another shout out to ATH Fabrication for sponsoring the video today and supplying those brackets. If you're gonna be doing a fender trim on a 3rd gen Tacoma and you wanna make sure that your bedsides are nice and secure after the trimming process, head over to their website. I will link these brackets down below. You can pick up a set of brackets for yourself, and that will make sure after this install, your fenders are nice and solid and they're not gonna be going anywhere. Thank you, ATH Fab. I appreciate you guys for sponsoring today's video. Before you do head on to the next video, do me a couple quick favors. If you enjoyed this video, if you got some benefits from it, it helped you out, if you were doing some fender trimming, hit that thumbs up button. It helps the video be more successful to get seen by people just like yourself. And if you have any questions about today's video, the fender trimming, anything about that process, or just anything in general about the Fortune Taco, make sure to drop a comment down below. I try my best to reply to every comment that is left on my videos. Thank you guys for sticking around all the way to the end. I appreciate you, and I will see you on my next video.